let me just say thank you to the task force that are here that was a part of this at the end this year, this 3 year that we've been going, we all been going up there again in DC and talking about this. The resolution of Navajo Nation presented to me here, which I'll be signing, is related to emergency approving the settlement agreement between the Navajo Nation and the United States and authorizing the Navajo Nation President, Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, and the Attorney of Record to execute the settlement agreement. The first signing that I did coming from Mr. Bate and the council is that to accept the agreement. We done it on the day we met at the fire rock. And the council agreed, they went to their executive session, agreed that we should try to not prolong. There's a 5-day period, and we wanted to accept this agreement as soon as possible from the nation, and that's what we execute. Fire Rock the next day, I believe, accepting the agreement came, and I signed it. I was in Peru. They chased me down up there. So the executive protection brought the legislation. I signed it on the hood of a vehicle up there, so I knew that we had to do that. And I was all dirty too at the same time. Good thing my hands were clean. I had to go through it again, you know, because it would have had some grease or something on it. But the attorney was on their way back to Albuquerque, so they took it back. They filed it in court, Dana. They filed it in court, am I correct, that day when the attorney went back?
President, as they notified USDOJ that you had signed the settlement agreement. As soon as you execute the legislation, everything is official and the time periods start to run and the court will be notified. They are waiting for the execution of the settlement agreement.
Yes.
And the legislation.
And with this here that we're going to sign today, the clock is running. We're looking at 120 days to receive the funding.
That is the agreement. 120 days from the time the council approved the settlement and you sign, or the council by resolution approves the settlement and you sign it, the days start to tick. 120 days, the dollars should be transferred.
So the time I signed the first one, the clock right now we have 2 or 3 days in already.
That makes it November 4th.
Yeah. All right. Okay. The main reason, I would like to say thank you for the foresight of the council, because right now the money is, if we keep the money in DC, it's gaining interest up there. Who's making the interest? Money off the interest is the government. We like to get that money down here to the bank of the Navajo Nation and get interest off it. And that's what we want. That's priority, and that's why I went along with the council's settlement legislation that came out. I didn't hesitate to act on it. So we will be receiving the money in 120 days, and will be in our bank. From there, I believe, from the meantime, from here to 120 days, we need to put a plan together. They call it, I call it, some people call it expenditure plan, but I think we need to call it investment plan. Please, budget finance, investment plan is a better word than expenditure. It seems like when you say expenditure, you're just going to throw all that money up in the air. No, let's take a look and invest where the good investment. There's so many things we could do together. So with that, I just read the legislation or resolution of the Navajo Nation. I'm going to go ahead and sign the resolution, and I'll go ahead and sign the paragraph. I hereby sign into law the foregoing legislation pursuant to 2 NNC 1005C10 on this day and the year 2014 of. And I am going to go ahead and put my John Doe on it. There we have it.
Thank you all of you for attending this historic event today. The way I think we should all look at it is not only a victory for the Navajo Nation in terms of being able to get through this, but it also sends a word out to Indian country, to all the other tribes that are in the same situation as the Navajo Nation is. There is a solution to what they're having to deal with. And by virtue of the fact that the Navajo Nation is the largest tribe, it sends a very strong message out that there is hope at the end of the day. There is light at the end of the tunnel for what they are attempting to do. What the Navajo Nation has been able to conclude. I want to say a very big, major thank you to the task force. You all did an outstanding job for the Navajo Nation. Dana.
Dana, come on down. Well, all right, Dana. All right, looking sharp. Speak.
I'm going to try to speak, but those who have been with me lately know that I cannot speak about the settlement without tears running down my face. I would like everybody to realize what an absolute historical landmark accomplishment this is for the Navajo Nation. There is a misconception sometimes that the Navajo Nation has not attempted to hold the United States responsible for their trust responsibilities. And that is just outright wrong. The Navajo Nation, through the Department of Justice and outside counsel, has sued the United States approximately 6 different times for their trust responsibility over the years. This happens to be the last, the final, at this point in time, litigation for historical wrongs. It's monumental. This is the largest trust responsibility award from the United States in the history of Indian country. It will never completely redress the wrongs done on prior generations, but it's going to allow some opportunities for future generations. And I just thank you so much for allowing me to work with you on this. There's nothing better than sharing a victory with your friends, and you are all my friends. So much. Thank you.
I just want to do a brief historical synopsis of what this case involves. Back in the 1800s, when the United States was forming, there were court decisions that evolved that we called the Marshall Trilogy. In those cases, one of the court decisions, named Johnson versus McIntosh, case of Johnson versus McIntosh, the United States Supreme Court made a determination about the status of the newly discovered lands. Based on that opinion, the court determined that the European nations that so-called discovered the Americas gained legal title to those lands by virtue of discovery. And it also determined the kinds of rights Indian people have to their very lands that they've occupied from time immemorial. The court decided that Indian tribes have something called an Indian title of occupancy. And from that particular case evolved the concept that the federal government holds title to Indian tribal lands in trust for Indian tribal nations and members. As a result of these pronouncements, numerous statutes court determinations, treaties have been signed based on that legal document, which evolves today to the United States holding our lands in trust for the Navajo Nation. And when they breach that trust, we have a right to make the United States accountable for mismanagement of these resources. And that's what this case is about. From the mid-1940s to today, we are holding the United States accountable for the mismanagement of our trust funds, of our lands, of our resources. And as Dana said, this is not full retribution for mismanagement of those resources. However, it is a settlement that we can also be proud of, because we have to remember that we pursue these cases in the courts of the United States. And in many cases, as has been previously shown in Navajo 1 and Navajo 2 cases, we've been hometown, and we didn't get a cent out of those cases that we spent a lot of dollars on. And I also want to say that this effort involved a lot of the resources of the Navajo people in terms of funding to the Navajo Nation Department of Justice, where we were able to procure the services of outside legal counsel, the Nordhaus law firm, and I want to mention Alan Teradash, who worked tirelessly to develop the legal strategy to pursue these particular claims, and his staff, Don Grove and Deidre Lujan. There was Tim Peckman and other staff members, including Dana when she worked there, to help us pursue these particular claims. And then recently we changed horses, so to speak, to the Buckley Sandler law firm for Andy Sandler and Sam Buffone, who also assisted us in the Peabody litigation. So this is a long, hard, and fought battle. In the courtroom with a lot of legal strategy, we spent an inordinate amount of time collecting evidence during the last 8 years. And all of the divisions, the departments, the programs should also be commended for their staff. Spent a lot of effort in helping and assisting to gather evidence in this particular litigation so we could have this successful conclusion. So I just want to commend everybody for their efforts and to thank everybody.